Ernaehrungssystem of Benno Winkel Book ISBN 978-14717-2241-7. The book with original system of Benno Winkel year 1952. Author Selzer-McKenzie. Offered by Amazon.com. A dozen film girls, young actresses and dancers, whisked lively in the champagne glasses which were filled newly again and again. Host was a young Croesus who likes to mime photographic model himself. He drew a pretty black-haired walking on the lap and kissed the left forefinger, the 18-year-old Portuguese pin-up girl Anita Harlan, dressed up as an Arab sheik. A photojournalist had to hold the merriest poses tight in 200 photos. It is proper the obsession to sunbathe in the gleam of pretty girls or to be able to make a photograph of the Roman babbies and polar bears to the pastime of the host. It is no Adonis and Munyank, but it has boasted about a real belle for months of a fortune of $1.5 million of marks. It has 4 cars and a cupboard full of suits, got a gold medal by Last Stylish Cut, among this a medal, this on the German Tailor Day, award-winning on September 5th is apart from many friends. A hairy attribute which it describes as an Assyrian beard, curled up under its pointed chin. Only a short time ago this announced golden page bore its simple civil name Benno Winkel, confessed the public. It calls itself merchant, if one asks for its profession. However, wives, this got known to the court meanwhile, for years of the game of chance. The International Institute for Roulette Research has given it the honor name, conqueror of the casinos and the most successful player of our century. He can be addressed at the dearest, Roulette King. A Hamburg judge still was outraged, at it a year ago that himself with one, such unemployed art by the life a fully grown man beats. Even then Benno Winkel was elegantly dressed. To the court proceedings he had tied even his time to a knot on recommendation of his lawyer to seem more serious. Otherwise he lets it down in an extravagant way not less from the shirt collar. Winkel was, because accused of the attempted deceit at the time it is, reached on a blurb with the heading, payable by 2 installments, a so-called diet system for the selling price of 50 marks he had offered. This system should be suitable according to the blurb to provide with a permanent additional income to all interested roulette friends with strong nerves and good concentration strength, at a working capital of only 120 marks. Benno Winkel, this one poses king the roulette with an actress single quote. Winkel even guaranteed, I am ready the deposit of 120 marks and an expense allowance of 20 marks, therefore altogether 165 marks, refund, case preview against me, that your game capital has been lost or also only can be lost. The judge did not know that one of his retired colleagues in the casino Travaglia obtains a small additional income with such a diet system, almost daily. The lost chances are just as little as the profits since the diet player operates only with small astuces. Winkel defended himself very skillfully with samples of the appropriate scientific literature and probability calculuses and laws of chance. As a forensic expert the Hamburg professor of mathematics had provided itself with drive. Lothar-Kolatz. It rejected our autodidactic system thesis under reference to the empirical principle of the deceased professor for aerodynamics and applied mathematics at Harvard University in Boston, Richard of Ms. Sovereignly, we just work with the strictly speaking not checkable assumption of the impossibility of a system of play, because it is suggested by the countless tests of unhappy system players. Winkel hid from an opportune restraint that he had at that time over 100,000 marks by system games earned. Winkel was finally acquitted after he to the evidence of the assertion, he is not a swindler but has seriously worked for years that had pushed with meters-long statistics and graphs. The realistic Professor Kurtz felt dizzy, it is a pity about the time which has been put into it. This appealed Winkel to the contradiction in the hurt pride of the fanatic particularly, the time is not a pity with me but this is the meaning of my time. A teacher at a secondary school has sowed the shoot of this strange attitude to life at the Hamburg Wilhelm Secondary School 14 years ago. He did not maltreat his college youths only with slight rule and logarithmic tables but also with the combinatorics, the basis of the probability calculus, lying away from the real lessons quota. Most pupils could hardly follow. Only the mathematically highly talented rector's son Benno Winkel understood this juggle with numbers and arithmetical progressions. The teacher at a secondary school had his pleasure of making a deductive talent from the pale son of the primary school headmaster removed from office in 1933, Max Winkel, from J.S. Weldon to East Prussians. This mathematics sports took a sudden end when the Defense District Command sent an enlistment order to the Benno Winkel to November 30, 1942 into the parental flat. The army could not digest the slight boy, though. Because of acute stomach suffering, the prevented recruit was found to be, from the point of view of time, unsuitable, at all further after examinations. He did only not use this military service unfitness for medical health cures, but stood in the middle of the total war. When his schoolmates heard whistling at the eastern front, the stallion Orgel, with cheeks red and hectically at the circling roulette of the gambling casinos. Also during the total war the gambling casinos remained open to Baden-Baden, Sopot and Baden at Vienna. In 1943 Winkel made his first game to Baden in the casino at Vienna with small astuces. He had obtained insight into so-called classic roulette systems by then, whose number over 1,000 is. In 1944 the Gestapo picked the young gambler and shut him in a solid house for 4 weeks. On this he worked as a business employee for some months. In the whirl of the collapse finally landed Winkel in Hamburg again and operated himself here in after-war business. Soon, however, this trade gave up again. He became owners of an écarté club and partners to 2 similar enterprises in 1950. He then pondered over his own systems in his studies cabinet, a kind of miniature museum of the roulette game, for months. What others have fixed in hundreds of rhymes in front of him means he modified and tried to perfect. He also discovered among others his diet system, at which the jurists were surprised. Winkel himself already played with greater endurance, as of 1952, and put at stake his whole reserves from 5,000 marks. The profits occurred increasingly, the longer he held out. He lost 150,000 marks in a week again, once, though, two. He then wants further to have filed his systems, I have not only one but juggled with several, and explains his great winning streak by this filigree as of December last year. He played in dozens of casinos including Monte Carlo, where he won only 12,000 marks. Winkel has a stack of 50 annual tickets he paid 5,000 marks for. However, he walked off with most profits in the casino Travemünde and, to be more precise, in several stages altogether 700,000 marks. Before any planned large-scale attack Winkel has once all coups, hits, of the last weeks noted down. 8 observers work for him alone in Travemünde for a day's wages of 20 marks per person. He then draws the conclusion from the sequences of numbers noted down by them, so-called permanences, for his new attack. He compiles whole columns of numbers which shall contain a large number of hits according to the common probability laws. With few trains which claims, and therefore their chips exact surplus, he earn like Winkel, amateur to be disappointed, often to win much. Winkel says, every professional player knows that he can play himself only in the form of waves. One must have a great endurance from time to time to come again onto the peak. Therefore Winkel brings at least 50,000 marrow to the game's table. The tension in the White Casino Palace at the Baltic Sea increased on the boiling point when also a second master of the system game, the Venus bookmaker Erich Puch, 43, still pounced upon the game's tables of Travemünde with his group. Puch lets mainly his wife and his black-haired assistant Jury Hildegard Hubner, 23, who is involved in the profit work on the green number carpet. You put stubbornly the sequence of numbers every day which he pushes to them on this piece of paper.